Hey guys, kinda Yui here, and it's another Storytime video. And jobs! We hate them, but they're the only thing that pays rent. Unless you're rich. But anyways, I only had 3 jobs in my life. Daycare worker, retail worker on the holidays, and my current job is a lunch aide at a school. And today, I'm going to talk about the daycare job since it was my first job. It was 2 years ago, and I was 18 years old and finishing up my last few months of high school. One day, my mom came into my room and told me that she managed to get me a job at the daycare I used to go to as a kid. And we're just gonna call this daycare... What was the name of the daycare from Toy Story 3? Sunnyside. So my mom got me a job at Sunnyside, and I was excited because I love kids and I get to see my teachers again. So the next day, my mom drops me off at Sunnyside, and I was greeted by my old fave teacher, who I'm gonna call Miss B. And the first thing that I noticed was that her birds, Herman and Marty, were still alive, which was pretty shocking since they were around when I went there. And I didn't even know that birds could live that long. And then she introduces me to all her coworkers. Time to think of a lot of fake names. First, there was Miss G, another one of my old teachers. She worked with the 3-year-olds in the morning. Then there's Miss Jamie, another old teacher who worked with the 2-year-olds in the morning. Then there was Lisa. She worked with the 3-year-olds in the afternoon and who I originally worked with when I first started. Then we have Brianna. She worked with the 5-year-olds and was the most chill person I talked to at my job. Then there's Taylor. She worked with the infants and went to the same high school as me. And finally there is Dee Dee, who worked with the 2-year-olds. She was a mentor to me and I really appreciated her sticking by me. Alright, now that we got everyone, let's get started. Wait. Why'd you call some teachers Miss and others by their first name? Because they used to be my teachers and I thought it'd be weird if I called them by their first names. I don't know, that's just me. Anyways, so the first week or so I would watch and take care of the 3-year-olds after school at 3 and work there till 6. So basically I had no rest in between, but I loved it. The kids were so sweet and they called me Miss Maddie and I loved it. Though after a bit, I was forced to work with the 2-year-olds, which was a lot harder to handle. Now I know why parents call it the terrible twos. 'Cause they were terrible! You know that scene in Toy Story 3 with the kids running around and basically destroying the other toys while the other kids played with them nice? Yeah, that was basically my job. We had this one little girl who I'm gonna call Livy, who was just a little nightmare. She would kick and punch the other kids, steal snacks, and when we tell her to do something, she does the opposite. And if you think nap time's easy, oh buddy boy, you're wrong! Nap time is the hardest part of the job because, believe it or not, kids, they don't like to sleep, and it takes up to 30 minutes to get a kid to lay down. But with Livy, she's another story. So when Jamie goes on break, I'm usually left in charge to take care of the kids. And when she's gone, all hell breaks loose. Well, fuck. This little girl just got up and started running around screaming and waking up the other children. So I had to get her to lay down, but at the same time, my anxiety was through the roof and I had tears in my eyes. Okay, quick note before we continue. The place had a layout where the 2-year-old room was next to the infant room, and there was a door in between the rooms, and the walls were basically paper thin. So after the anxiety hit, Dee Dee opened the door and complained about me being too loud, and I just broke down. And I hate crying in public because I was scared about looking like an idiot, so that made it worse. Dee Dee felt bad and helped me with Livy, and holy shit, it was like she hypnotized this child to lay down. Another time, Livy didn't want to be dropped off, so she cried the entire time she was here. I don't know what was more surprising, the fact that someone so small can produce that much tears, or the fact that her voice hasn't died out from all the screaming. But after a few hours, we had to call our family to pick her up because her screaming was keeping up all the children during nap time, and she never came back after that. Good riddance, I guess. This next kid we had wasn't exactly a bad kid, but he made my job a little bit of a struggle. I'm gonna call this boy Kevin, because he was a wimp! Just kidding. He was a generally sweet kid, but he was also sensitive. He was also a 2-year-old like Livy. And you know how I said Jamie works in the morning? Yeah, Kevin only really liked her, and as soon as her shift ends, he cries until his mom gets here. And moms, they usually don't like to come in and see their kids crying. Alright, Maddie, I'll see you tomorrow. Oh no, not again? Okay. Just try to put on a big smile and act really friendly, and maybe he'll cheer up. Hey, Kevin! Mommy. And no matter what I did, he would not stop crying. But let's talk more about bad kids. Another bad kid we had was a 3-year-old named, Thomas. Thomas was the type of kid who would throw a tantrum every 5 seconds when he doesn't get what he wants. One time we were having lunch, and I gave Thomas the lunch that his mom packed for him. Here you go, buddy. That's right, he just throws the food on the floor. So I asked him why he did that, and he kept saying that he wanted pizza instead. I said no, and he flipped out. He didn't get to eat, and he complained about the rest of the day. I'm hungry. Well, maybe that wouldn't have happened if you ate your lunch! Another time, I was making sure the kids were using the bathroom before nap time, and Thomas was prone to having accidents during nap time. Okay, Thomas, go potty. No! Thomas, at least try. I don't want you to have another accident. And the next thing I knew, he punches me square in the nose and actually gave me a bloody nose. And if you thought he was bad, this last kid was a doozy. The worst kid was actually a first grader. He usually gets dropped off here after school until his parents pick him up. We're gonna call him Hunter. So calling Hunter a bad kid was a bit of an understatement. He was like Sid from Toy Story. Damn, so many Toy Story references. So the first instance was when I first started working there. I had just finished cleaning the room and the kids were sitting at a table being good. Just as I was about to head out, I noticed a kid was missing. Where's Hunter? Yep, he dumped out all the puzzles onto the floor. Luckily, they were the big ones, so putting them back wasn't that hard, but it only gets worse from there. So it was snack time for the kids, and for some reason, Hunter wasn't eating. So I went over to him and asked him, Hunter, why aren't you eating? I want cookies. Well, we don't have cookies, so... But I want cookies! Hunter, we don't have cookies. You either eat what you have or get nothing at all. And I shit you not, this actually happened. He went over to his backpack, threw an unopened juice box on the floor, and stepped on it, spilling juice all over the floor and on me. I was frozen from shock to do anything, but luckily Brianna scolded him. And finally, the last straw. I took the kids outside one day. Everything was fine until I noticed it looked like it was about to rain. So I lined up the kids, and again, one kid was missing. Where's Hunter? So I tried to get him to get back in line, but he refused to listen, and instead kept throwing mulch at me. So I called my new boss, who I will talk about in a bit, and she wouldn't answer, so I had to chase after him and get him inside. Just when it was starting to rain, I noticed that he dropped his toy, so I picked it up and used it as bait to bring him inside. So yeah, if you thought those kids were bad, my boss was just as worse. Anyways, after working at the daycare for some time, and eventually graduating, I started to take full-time shifts during the summer, which were extremely tiring, but I made a lot of money, so what's the worst that I'm retiring? I know it's shocking, but I've been running this place for almost 40 years now. But don't worry, you'll still have your job here. So yeah, Miss B and Miss G retired, which is sad because they were good teachers, but understand that they can't work there forever. Though the worst part was that they took Herman and Marty with them, and I missed those little guys. Pretty soon we were introduced to our new boss, named, Satania. You'll see why I called her that in a minute. At first, Satania seemed nice and really loved kids, but she had a heavy Russian accent, so sometimes it was kinda hard to understand her. And she made some renovations to the place. She gave us new toys, added a new fridge, and a new playground. But little did I know that behind that kind smile was something malevolent. So one day, I was finishing up cleaning one of the rooms, and I decided to sit and text my mom when I was done, letting her know that I was almost done with my shift. But then Satania walked in, and in her eyes, I looked like a lazy teenager slack off, but I swear I wasn't. The next day was payday, and instead of getting the wage I'm usually used to, my pay was cut, without me knowing. And according to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, a pay cut cannot be enacted without the employee being notified. If an employer cuts an employee's pay without telling them, it is considered a breach of contract. So I asked Satania about it, but she told me that I was slacking off on the job, which I clearly wasn't. If anything, she's the one slacking off since she did nothing to help me with the situation with Hunter outside. And remember how Thomas punched me and gave me a nosebleed? Satania was at the scene. Oh my goodness, what happened? Actually, go get yourself cleaned up. I'll take it from here. Just kidding! This is how it went. Maddie-son! Oh, thank goodness you're here. I could use some help with the kid. Were you yelling at Thomas? Well, yeah. It was a last resort situation. He wouldn't go to the bathroom and he punched. You know what? Go clean yourself up. I'll deal with this. Look, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, yelling at kids is wrong. You're a monster. Okay, hear me out. I use yelling as an absolute last resort. If a kid is acting up, I go to level 1, asking nicely to stop. If that doesn't work, I go to level 2, firmly telling them to stop. And if that doesn't work, I go to level 3, yelling. And if that doesn't work, I call for backup because I am not that intimidating. I'm like a kitten yelling at a Doberman. Anyways, you think Satania being the boss would be more involved with the kids? But nah, not really. She focused more on money instead of the actual kids. One time it was almost closing time and the only people there were me, Satania, this little kid named Billy, and his infant sister Mandy. Sure, whatever. Anyways, I was by myself watching Billy and Mandy while Satania was in the other room watching TV. Billy was running around and I was worried about him running into Mandy since she was just learning how to walk. So I told him to stop and to play nicely, and he did. So I thought. I turned around for 1 second to pick up a piece of paper that fell, and when I turned back, I saw Billy running around and he ran straight into Mandy and she fell on her face. I am so fired. Okay, everything is fine. Just gotta get her to calm down and holy shit, her mouth. Satania, help! Oh my god, Maggie-san, what did you do? Were you even watching him at all? How could you be so irresponsible? Yeah, Mandy's mouth was bleeding a little bit and Satania yelled at me until my anxiety made me break down. Don't worry, after some applesauce, Mandy was alright. And after calming down, I told Satania what exactly happened, and she told me she would take care of it. And by that, she meant blame the entire situation on me when their mom showed up. Well, yeah, it was your fault for not looking when the baby got hurt. Okay, fair, but it was 1 second. And she made it sound like I wasn't watching them the entire time. Thank God the mom was really chill, since apparently this wasn't the first time this has happened. The next time was something similar, but luckily no one got hurt. I was looking after Billy and Mandy again, and this time I was looking after Satania's kids and helping them with their homework, which shouldn't be my job in the first place, but it's whatever. The kids were named, Hansel and Gretel. I ran out of ideas. They were generally good kids despite their evil mom, and we would usually talk about Pokemon. Anyways, I was cleaning up the room while watching 4 kids while Satania was doing other things. I don't know. I was one person doing a 2-person job, and it was fucking chaotic. Mandy wouldn't stop crying, Hansel and Billy were play fighting, and Gretel, she was just reading. And it was all too much for me, so I froze until Satania came in confused by all the noise. She let me go home early that day at least. So yeah, Satania being boss wasn't all that great. She even went so far as to not give me a break after working a 10-hour shift. And according to OSHA law, employers must provide employees with at least a 30-minute meal break for every 8 hours of continuous work. In addition, employees must be provided with at least a 10-minute rest break for every 4 hours required. And I worked a minimum of 6 hours a day. It wasn't just me she was treating unfairly, it was also other employees. Pretty soon they left one by one. Taylor, Brianna, Jamie. They were quickly replaced by other employees, but they barely spoke any English, so working with them was kind of difficult. But what made you stop working there? Were you fired? No, my silly little viewer. I fucking quit, and that has a bit of a story. One night I was sleeping, and I suddenly got a call from Satania at 1 in the morning. Hello? Oh, hello, Madison. I hope I didn't wake you. Oh, no, of course you didn't. How can I help you? I know your schedule says that you come in at noon, but I need you to come in at 8 a.m. Lisa called in sick. Have a good night. Yeah, I wasn't happy about the late night call. And neither was my mom when I told her she had to drive me to work earlier. But I don't blame Lisa. She was sick after all. But this story kind of relates to the reason why I decided to quit. I was in a pretty bad state of mind and I couldn't handle coming in to work the next day. So I called Satania at 11 p.m. and left a message saying that I couldn't come in and went to bed. Suddenly, I woke up to 10 angry texts from Satania demanding to come in to do my shift for half the day. So, she's allowed to call me at 1 a.m. to change my shift, but I'm not allowed to call in sick? So I came into work extremely pissed, but I hid it with a smile. Madison, how are you feeling? Still not feeling so well. How do you think I feel, you evil goblin? I'm fucking suffering right now! Oh, are you ready to start your shift? You betcha! I hope a kid barks on you. So I was pretty much a mess the entire day, and when it was time for me to go, she wouldn't dismiss me until 15 minutes after my shift ended because she was too busy gossiping with her coworkers, and I was giving her signals that I needed to leave, like right now. And as I was sitting in the car sobbing my eyes out from stress while my mom drives me home, I realized, I can't do this anymore. So I gave Satania my 2 weeks notice and she tried to convince me to stay, but I wasn't having it, so I fucking quit. And fun fact, my last day of work also marked 1 year since I started working there. So I literally worked there for a year. Last time I went there was a few months later to get my final paycheck, and instead of seeing Satania, I saw someone new. Oh, hello. Is Satania here? Oh, the lady who used to work here? I'm afraid not. She sold the place weeks ago. So yeah, Satania quit. Yay, I guess. Anyways, though it seemed like Sunnyside was a horrible place, it still holds a special place in my heart. It was one of the few good things in my childhood, and it was my first ever job. There were also some good kids that would always brighten my day whenever I was upset. And I even managed to say some of the cards Gretel made me during the holidays. And that was my first job experience. And if you guys want, I can talk about my other job experiences in future videos. What were your guys' first jobs like? Was it as bad as mine? Let me know in the comments. See you in the next video.